Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. I've been sitting here since 2:30. There's often maybe an advantage for going last in one of these hearings. I was going to say it was the elephant in the room until my colleague from Georgia brought it up. But as I've sat here, I've heard most members of this committee ask something about the southern border. Not everybody, but the majority. I spent a lot of time on the border, perhaps more time than maybe anybody on this committee, maybe with the exception of Senator Cornyn, who I've traveled to the border with. And I strongly agree with what most of my Democrat and Republican colleagues have said about the problems and the challenges. You know, fentanyl coming north, precursors often from China heading south, violent extremist organizations, Chinese migrants who might be in, Maine, selling rather strong marijuana, ISIS, Iran proxies, problems in Mexico. I mean, over and over again, they've pointed out all these problems. And I've worked on this issue, providing more pay for Border Patrol, closing gaps in border wall along the southern border, where they make sense, and they certainly do in a lot of places. More money for NGOs to help Border Patrol. Director Wray pointed out, talking about how we need more resources to combat the threat. And it helps when DHS gets those resources. And we had the opportunity to do something about it. We really did. More money for technology, including fentanyl detection. More Border Patrol agents, more asylum officers, more authorities to rapidly expel individuals. A change in the credible fear standard. More money for detention facilities. More visas to reunite families. And all this legislation was endorsed by the Border Patrol Union. And it had strong bipartisan support. Until it didn't. And my colleague from Georgia points out why it didn't. Director Wray, is it in your assessment that more resources and stronger policy that could help your partners, not necessarily the FBI, but DHS, is that your assessment that that would help deal with all these things that were mentioned in this committee hearing today?
Well, I'll leave it to others to speak to policies, but certainly in terms of resources, not just for DHS, but for the FBI, we need more resources to deal with all the threats that emanate from the border that we're responsible for.
Director Haynes?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that.
Director Burns?
Nope, I don't have anything to add. I agree.
All right, well, I'm going to yield back the remainder of my time because I think it's, the failure of that legislation, that alone presents a national security threat to this country, in my view.